Hi, this is Charlie from Tropical Birding and welcome to this video trip report from my recent Pacific Islands tour. Here's a PDF which accompanies the video. It's got a full checklist and a link to the eBird trip report, so please check that out. This was a custom trip going to New Caledonia, Fiji and Papua New Guinea. We do, however, have an existing tour, which is New Caledonia and Fiji as the main tour, and it also has extensions to Vanuatu and to Samoa. So please check that out. Let's start by looking at a map. This is the Southwest Pacific, just east of Australia. You can see there New Caledonia, Fiji, and then to the north, the big island of New Guinea. And then we visited an island called New Britain, which is just north of there with lots of endemics. We started the trip in New Caledonia, where we flew into the international airport, which is at La Tontota International Airport. And we drove to the capital of Noumea. The clients were quite interested in snorkeling and swimming, so we stayed on the beach in a place called Baie de Citron with lots of fish. We planned to stay about 5 days here, but it turned into 6 because of the flight schedules. We couldn't get a flight on the day we wanted. This is often a bit of a problem in this part of the world. On day 1, we went to a local park to pick up our first endemics. This was a place called Wentoro. It's a very scenic park on a hill, very beautiful, a lot of local people going in there and walking and jogging. On the top of the hill was a sort of historical cannon, which is quite a popular tourist attraction. We got straight into the birding. We saw some nice birds like the endemic race of shining bronze cuckoo. We also picked up our first full endemic species, a dark brown honeyeater, which we caught singing. Not too colourful, but yeah, nice brown bird with very, lovely song. The bird we got was a long-tailed triller, which we saw very well. In the afternoon, we went to the local cultural centre, very interesting architecture there, and with some very interesting exhibits. Has some nice birds in the garden, including the South Melanesian cuckoo shrike. New Caledonia is still a French colony or overseas territory, but the local people there are called the Kanak. So there was a lot of exhibitions about the Kanak, including some nice portraits. The next morning, we went to the sort of closest good forest site called Mont Kogi, just about 25 minutes away from Noumea. This is what it looked like. One of the clients actually visited this place 50 years previously, quite remarkably. So he was trying to remember what it looked like. But yeah, there's a small lodge at the top. It's a private reserve. And it's got many of the New Caledonian endemic bird species. When we got there, we found a nice flowering tree with barred honeyeaters. This is inside the forest. A lot of tree ferns. This is a rather nice bird from here, the Cloven-feathered Dove, type of fruit dove. Also saw the New Caledonian Imperial-Pigeon or Goliath Imperial-Pigeon, huge dove. Another regional endemic called the southern shrikebill. This is a very interesting bird, the New Caledonian crow. I'm just going to pause that. You see it's in its bill, it's got a little twig, but it carries this around with it and uses it to sort of poke in little crevices, getting out grubs. So it keeps its favourite little toothpick to carry around with it. Very interesting species. We spent some time in the sea as well. Just near our hotel, we went for a nice snorkel, saw some nice fish, some different anemone fish and butterfly fishes. We had a nice restaurant next door, had some very nice fresh fish as well. We ate there every night. The following day, we took a day trip from a different airport, the domestic airport, which is just in the town here, called Magenta Airport. Here we boarded a small plane, and we had a short hop flight across to the island of Lifou in a group of islands called the Loyalty Islands. I'd previously visited New Caledonia a couple of times, but this was my first time to come here, so I was quite excited. When we arrived, we found a local driver who took us the short way to a little village called Weh. And you see, just under where it says Weh, there's a small road that goes up to some antennas. And this was one of the birding spots on the island. This was the road itself with habitat that we birded. And some of the birds that we found, one was called the cardinal Misomela, blackbird with a red head. There's a couple of different white-eye species as well. This was a small Lifou white-eye, and then this one with a big long bill is the large Lifou white-eye. And we also got another fruit dove, different fruit dove. So yeah, very fun day. We had a whole morning there, and then we walked down to the ferry terminal where we got on a catamaran ferry back to Noumea. The ferry took us along the coast of New Caledonia, and in some places, I think this was another island, you can see all these New Caledonian pines, type of Araucaria, very distinctive trees. Also had quite a few seabirds. We had short-tailed shearwaters, brown noddies, sooty terns, red-footed boobies. Yeah, so it was quite productive. So we went all the way around the eastern end of New Caledonia and back to Noumea. The next day we had a long drive up to another park called Grand Fougères, which means tree fern in French. It's one of the two main places where one of the big targets of our time here, the Kagu, was to be found. Saw some nice other endemics. We had a horned parakeet, and the other parakeet, the New Caledonian parakeet as well, good views. And our main target, almost of the whole trip, big target, the Kagu. Monotypic family of birds, absolutely fascinating. They say it's most closely related to the sunbittern from South America. How that happened, I have no idea. But very unique bird and just a real privilege to see. Here's another little bit of footage. They often got a very sturdy bill, which they kind of hammer at the soil and rotten wood looking for grubs. We saw all sorts of interactions, courtship, raising the crest, interesting feeding behaviors. We really watched them at our leisure. So it was, it was wonderful. Some other nice birds as well. The red-throated parrotfinch. From Grand Fougères, we went back down to the coast and drove further up to a very unusual and rare habitat, type of dry forest there with cycads in. This is the forest here with the cycads and a lot of vines. Not a lot of unique birds to this habitat, but at least not anymore. There's a couple of extinct ones, I think. But yeah, really nice place to visit. The following day, we went from Noumea to the main birding site, I would say, on New Caledonia called Blue River Parc. Very special place. We actually went in with a local guide. She gets special access and can use her own vehicle. And she's a real, wonderful person called Isabel. So very highly recommended. We learned a lot from her. On the drive in, we saw some interesting habitats. This is called maquis minière. It's a sort of scrub, a lot of low bushes, quite high diversity. Really interesting. And then this was the main birding road. Apart from the Kagu, which we'd already seen, but we didn't mind seeing again, this is another one of the big targets here. It's called the crow honeyeater. It's the largest honeyeater in the world, and it's critically endangered. Not a great photo, unfortunately. Big blackbird with a long tail. Isabel knew where one was nesting, so we waited very patiently at a respectful distance, and we got great views of this very special bird. Plenty of other endemics. This is the yellow-bellied fly robin, which was pretty tame, hangs around the picnic site. Nice forest bird, the New Caledonian streaked fantail. And again, we got another Kagu. And this one actually crossed the road and came very close to us. But yeah, really, no fear of people at all. They're not persecuted and haven't been for a long time. So we got more great views, which was wonderful. I think we'd seen all the endemics by this point, but we were looking for better views and photographs. So we went back the following day to Mount Kogi. Here we found a very nice flowering tree where we got very close views of more barred honeyeaters and the New Caledonian friarbird. We've seen the coconut lorikeets a few times in flight, but yeah, we finally had them perched and got some photos. And that was the end of our time in New Caledonia. And then it was on to the next part of the tour, which was Fiji. And they actually have a direct flight to Fiji. Not every day, which is why we had to spend an extra day. But yeah, we took the direct flight. So again, from Tontota International Airport, we flew, I think it was only a couple of hours. It's really not far, to Nadi International Airport. Luckily, the flights worked out, and we were able to fly straight out of the international airport on the domestic flight to the island of Taveuni, to Matei Airport. This was the small Fiji Airlines flight from Nadi to Taveuni. And as we arrived at the lodge, Garden Island Resort, there's a big tree there full of flying foxes. So that was a nice treat on the first day. The next day, we were met by a very nice dude, a local driver and guide called Paul that knew the birding sites very well. So he took us up to the birding site on Taveuni. Really not very far, but not a very good road. And he went up to a place called Des Voeux Peak. So he had a nice big 4x4 truck that he took us up there. It's got some nice native forest. This is some of the habitat that we birded. Nice kind of montane forest. It was quite cold, rainy and misty when we were there, so it wasn't perfect conditions. But we did see some nice things. This was one of the very special things that we saw, called the Taveuni silktail. Silktails are in the fantail family, but they've got quite short tails and these beautiful little iridescent blue spots on the head. Fascinating birds. I'd seen them, but never photographed them before. Paul actually knew where there was a nest, an active nest, which is some pretty good local knowledge. And I bet there hasn't been that many nests found of this species. So that was a real privilege. And this is actually the nest itself, and it's got an almost fledged chick there sitting on top. So the timing was absolutely perfect. A little bit lucky. A few more days and I think the chick would have left the nest already. So wonderful to catch up with the Taveuni silktail. These seem different enough for me to be a separate family. So yeah, watch this space. Big target on Taveuni is the orange dove. Fascinating bird, beautiful, bright orange. For me, one of the best looking doves in the world. Yeah, and we had great views. Some of the birds are found up higher up in the montane forest, and other birds can be found lower down, even in the sort of mixed agriculture area. And Paul actually took us to his bit of farmland down there, and we saw quite a bit of stuff. We had the Fiji kingfisher, Fiji goshawk. We had some people especially keen on parrots, and this is an endemic parrot to the island, a red shining parrot. So yeah, we spent quite a bit of time looking for that. And we flew back to Nadi, and then we tried to go to the island of Kandavu. And we came in to this airport, and it was too windy to land, and we had to turn back, which was a real shame because we missed about 4 endemics there. But this is just one of these things, just bad luck. Yeah, when you're doing these short hop flights in Fiji, looking down on the sort of turquoise waters, just absolutely stunning. So instead of Kandavu, we went to our next site, which was Suva, the Suva area. We flew into Suva Nassori Airport, and from there drove the short distance to the Colo-i-Suva Forest Park, and we just stayed across the road. It's quite a famous birding site here. A lot of endemic birds. This is one of our targets here, the barking Imperial-Pigeon. Sounds like a big dog. And another big target was the golden fruit dove. Gorgeous bird. Sounds like a small dog barking. You can see it here. Just listen very carefully. It sounds like a little dog. Rained quite a bit when we were there, but we drove around trying to see as much as we could. This is one of the birds we were looking for, better views of the Fiji parrotfinch. Another site on this side of the island with some nice forest is called the Namosi Road. It's not a protected area or anything like that, but has really nice high elevation forest. This is some of the kind of habitat we were birding just along the road. We picked up another species, a many-coloured fruit dove, beautiful white colour, male. And one of the rarer endemics here called the black-throated shrikebill. Quite a mysterious bird, yeah, very seldom seen. And yet we got better views of parrots, the masked shining parrot. It's a VT Lifou special. We'd seen collared lorries flying around, but yeah, we finally got perch views of birds. I think they had a nest, but we saw them very well. Gorgeous birds. And yeah, after we'd spent a few days here and cleaned up on all the endemics, we were back to the airport where we transited through Nadi International Airport and went on to Australia for a one-night stop. We were on our way to Papua New Guinea, but there weren't any direct flights. So the way the flights worked out, we had full half day in Brisbane. Luckily, I've got a friend in Brisbane, fantastic birder, Stuart. And yeah, he took us out looking for this wonderful animal, the koala. The clients have been in Australia before and missed koala, so this was a wonderful pickup. Very cute. This one's actually got a young one underneath. You see it there, grabbing on. I think just as it turns around, goes behind the tree, you get a view of the young one there. So just watch this. There you can see it. Very cool. Yeah. So this was at a place called White's Hill Reserve. It's actually one of the best places in the world, really, to see koala. But my friend Stuart took us to his local birding patch called the Bowie's Flat Wetland. Tiny little reserve, just packed with interesting things. We saw some really interesting water birds there, buff-banded rails. And this bird was a nemesis for me for a long time. And it showed really well, a pale-vented bush hen, normally a very difficult bird to see. So that was showing really well. So that was nice to see. Also had a nesting tawny frogmouth staked out. A ringtail possum. And this wonderful flowering tree, just full of lorikeets. We had scaly-breasted lorikeets and rainbow lorikeets. So it turned quite, actually one of the most memorable afternoons of the tour. So that was really cool. The next day, we went from Brisbane International Airport up to Port Moresby, the capital of Papua New Guinea. And we planned to transit through here and go straight up to New Britain. But again, we had more flight problems. A flight was cancelled and we had to go the next day. But yeah, the next day we took a small flight to the small airport of Hoskins on the island of New Britain, which is politically part of Papua New Guinea. This was a small plane that we landed on, and we were met and taken from the airport up to the Walindi Resort. Most people that visit Walindi are divers, very popular diving place. It's actually been going for decades, this place. But just in recent years, has got a bit of a name for itself for being a good place to base to get some of the endemic birds of New Britain. Just in the garden, we had red-banded flowerpecker. The local guide, as soon as we arrived, he took us up a local ridge road. Used to be nice forest up there. It's got a little bit trash now. This is what it looks like. So pretty disturbed forest, but still a lot of good birds up there. Not a great photo this, but this is a very special bird. New Britain endemic, the black honey buzzard. Really happy to see this bird. In the afternoon, we took a drive. We went through some oil palm plantations, a lot of oil palm there. But we did see some interesting birds there. This is one bird that does quite well in the oil palm, Stephan's dove. More buff-banded rails. And this special bird, another New Britain endemic, the Bismarck Imperial-Pigeon. Actually pretty common around here. We got to a place called Kilo River, which has a bit of forest along it, and we saw some very nice birds around there. Quite big numbers of Blythe's hornbills, a huge hornbill, blue-eyed cockatoo, which is a special bird, pied coucals. The next day, we'd planned a boat ride from the resort. They have their own boats. This was the boat belonging to the resort. And the boatman, we were accompanied by a dive master and a bird guide and a boat captain. And we made our way to the island of Malu Malu, large Malu Malu island first. It was actually high tide, so we stayed on the boat doing some birding. Here's the island in the distance, and these are some of the island endemics. This is the island Imperial-Pigeon with a nice white spectacle. Next, we went on to Restorff Island, where we got off and did some more birding. This is the beach here. Actually had lunch here as well. And we picked up some other birds, island monarch and black-tailed whistler, and a bunch of stuff. Really cool. And after we'd finished our birding, got all our targets and had some lunch, we had some time to take a dip and do some snorkeling. It was spectacular. Large numbers of fish, just huge groups of snappers and things like that. Had this giant barracuda, lots of anemone fishes, orange-striped triggerfishes. These are all these snappers. I mean, there was just hundreds and hundreds. It was really, it was wonderful. Yeah, really fun. I love snorkeling. On the way back, we had hundreds of terns. Yeah, common terns, great crested terns, and just one black noddy as well. But that was quite fun. After the boat ride, we went back up to the ridge, and we had some really nice birding up there. We sort of hung around as it cooled down in the afternoon. We had more Blythe's hornbills, red-knobbed imperial pigeons, knobbed fruit dove, lots of flying foxes there, great flying fox, this one. And in the evening, we took our first night drive looking for the golden masked owl, which we glimpsed, but it flew off straight away. We did have a sleeping variable goshawk. And on the last full day, we went to this forest site called the Garou Road, with some nice forest there and some special birds. The road actually went by a hot river. There was a hot spring that fed into a river, and the actual river was hot. Quite remarkable. But the earth next to the river was quite warm, and this was used by a bird called the megapode, the Melanesian megapode. They would dig a hole and lay their egg in the hole and then cover it back up, and they don't incubate the eggs themselves. So this was a special target of our morning, the Melanesian Megapode, and the guides just knew exactly where and when to be. And we had some good, brief but good views of this bird flying around. One of the clients was quite curious about this hot river, and she wanted to go for a paddle. So the guide took us to another spot. We took our shoes and socks off and went for a paddle, and it was just amazing. I kind of wish I'd taken my bathing suit and just lay down in there. It was just like being in a bath in a river, surrounded by gorgeous forest and birdsong. It was quite remarkable. Some other nice birds along that Garou Road. We had great views of Papuan eclectus. This is a female, this bright red and blue one, and the males that are green. And that evening, we took another night drive. We went actually back to the Kilu River and waited till dusk. And we got the New Britain boobook, an endemic owl. And we also had incredible views of the golden masked owl. This is a bird that was, it went missing for decades and was fairly recently rediscovered here. Sort of barn owl family. And we just had incredible views of it. So we felt very privileged, and it was just a wonderful way to finish the tour. And we were with the guide who actually rediscovered this bird as well. So he told us a whole story of how it had been found. This is one of our local guides, very special dude. Many thanks. So it was really fun to spend a few days with him looking for the New Britain endemics. Early the next morning, we went back to Hoskins Airport and took the short flight back to Port Moresby, where we connected with our international flights. It was really a bit of a trip of a lifetime, so very strongly recommended. All of these places. If you're interested in any of them, let us know, and we can arrange something. Just going to finish by showing you the trip report. I'll put the link in the description for the video here and in the PDF trip report. See, it's not huge numbers of birds, but some very special ones, a lot of lifers. Put all my photos on here and sightings of birds, so please check that out. I'm a bit of a compulsive snorkeler, so I really went to town in all the places we visited, New Caledonia, Fiji, and New Britain. Did a lot of snorkeling, I got over 150 species of fish, and some wonderful experiences. So if you like underwater, this is a good trip to combine a bit of snorkeling with some birding. Just finished with the Kagu again. Many thanks for joining me on this video trip report. And I hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you on a tour here in the future. All the best. Bye.